Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakak Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. And I'm your brother Montezabath, and this is going to be a response from the comment section. And brother reached out and asked, if you get a chance, can you do a breakdown over Nazarene vow and go over some of the context of the Nazarenes? All right. And this is what this lesson is going to be about, because there seems to be a lot of going back and forth with certain Israelite camps, all right, that have brothers out there on the front line that have their hair, very long in a dreadlock type of style. Brothers locks going all the way down past their earlobes. And you have certain brothers that they come into the truth, and then a lot of times they don't even understand what the actual vow meant. All right. And not only what it meant, but it actually had a expiry time where you will have to actually shave off your locks, or trim, I should say, not shave completely bald, but you will have to shave it down. All right. So we're going to get into this. Shouldn't be a long lesson, so we'll see where the Spirit takes us. But once again, this is just a basic understanding going into the Nazarite vow, and you have to also watch out for, certain brethren, because they'll try to use this as a means to say that, they're keeping their hair out for that. And then sometimes what other brothers will do is they'll use Samson, which, Lord's will, we can cover Samson if we have time within this lesson, which you will find out that Samson actually didn't have locks, or dreadlocks, I should say. Now, he did have locks, which when you go into it deeply, he had plait of hair, or what we would call braids today. All right. So let's start at Numbers, the 6th chapter. All right. Dealing with the Nazarite laws within our heritage as Israelites. Now, I'm going to read this in the NLT. All right. So it says at the top, "Then the Lord Yahweh said to Moses, give the following instructions to the people of Israel. If any of the people, either men or women, take the special vow of a Nazarite, setting themselves apart to Yahweh in a special way." All right. In a special way, meaning what? Really to be consecrated, to be set apart. All right. Which, when you go into the word Nazarite, all right. Yeah. All right. Strong's G 5139, Nazir, as they pronounce it. OK, which simply means one consecrated or devoted. Now, to be consecrated. All right. When you look it up. OK. All right. It says here a verb: sanctify, bless, make holy, make sacred, hallow. All right. Set apart. OK, that's pretty much all it means. OK, so coming back over here, verse 3, Numbers 6 and 3, they must give up wine and other alcoholic drinks. They must not use vinegar made from wine or from other alcoholic drinks. And they must not drink fresh grape juice, and they must not eat grapes or raisins. All right. So part of being a Nazarite, or taking a vow, I should say, part of it was you couldn't touch the grape or the vine. OK, you couldn't touch alcohol, period. All right. And brothers today walking around, all right, that are using this as a means to keep their dreads, I bet you they're not even keeping this part of it, because a lot of them are probably still drinking and stuff, So it says, verse 4, as long as they are bound by their Nazarite vow, they are not allowed to eat or drink anything that comes from a grapevine, not even the grape seeds or skins. All right. So that's pretty much self-explanatory there. Verse 5 says they must never cut their hair throughout the time. That's the key part. Time of their vow, showing you that there was a time. OK, most people, or brothers, I should say, in particular, that take up this vow, of keeping their hair long, they don't understand that there's a certain part of time, because eventually you will have to cut your hair. So it goes on to say, for they are holy and set apart to Yahweh until the time of their vow has been fulfilled. They must let their hair grow long. So until that time, which ultimately, when you break it down, really, you will only be in this vow for up to a year, because you had the Passover and you couldn't come into the tabernacle. All right. Because with long hair, keeping the Nazarite vow, because you had to drink the wine. All right. When you had to kill the Passover, which is the lamb. All right. Eat the bitter herbs. You also had to drink the wine. So if you was, being circumcised and you coming into the congregation to keep the Passover, you would have to cut your hair. You couldn't just walk into the Passover, to take part in it. And, you had your, locks, man. All right. Your braids or whatever, So that would be ideal, when you get the full understanding. That would be the time that your vow would have came to an end, right up until the Passover. It says, verse 6, and they must not go near a dead body during the entire period of their vow to Yahweh. Even if the dead person is their own father, mother, brother, or sister, they must not defile themselves, for the hair on their head is the symbol of their separation to the Most High. So you have to put your feelings aside. If you had a situation, even so much so a close relative, such as your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, were to pass away, you couldn't touch them. Although we know the scripture says that, when a person passes away, you take 7 days to mourn, but then, you go right back to doing what you're supposed to be doing. So furthermore, verse 8, it says this requirement applies as long as they are set apart of Yahweh. If someone falls dead besides them, the hair they have dedicated will be defiled. They must wait for 7 days and then shave their heads. All right. Then they will be cleansed from their defilement. You see? So think about the brothers that may have went to funerals and stuff like that, being around, people who have passed away, or even, you may have some brothers that have been pallbearers. All right. Claiming to be under the Nazarite vow, and they're walking the casket or whatever, man. They are in violation right there. They got to cut their hair. Verse 10, it says, on the 8th day, they must bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons to the priest at the entrance of the tabernacle. Now, to understand this was during a time back in the ancient world before Yahweh Shai took over the priesthood, because the priesthood was given to the Levites, Salakia, right? So to understand this, you have to understand we were under the Levitical priesthood back then. And this was the order of things on how we had to not only consecrate ourselves, but give up an atonement. OK, verse 11, it says the priest will offer one of the birds for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. And this way he will purify them from the guilt they incurred through contact with the dead body. Then they must reaffirm their commitment and let their hair begin to grow again. So they will have to, go through that part of, trimming their hair down, cutting it all off. All right. Make atonement for that sin. And then they'll have to restart the process over again. Verse 12, it says the days of their vow that were completed before their defilement no longer count. You see that? They must rededicate themselves to Yahweh as a Nazarite for the full term of their vow, showing you that eventually you will come to the end of that term to where you will have to cut your hair. All right. Brothers get it twisted, not understanding or reading this chapter that the Nazarite vow wasn't you just decided to take the vow and then you're going to keep your long hair until you end up passing away. That's not how it works. Because you have, fortunately, you have certain brothers out here that claiming to be in the truth that actually believe that. OK, so I'm going to read that part again. Verse 12, it says the days of their vow that were completed before their defilement no longer count. they must rededicate themselves to Yahweh as a Nazarite for the full term of their vow, and each must bring a 1-year-old male lamb for a guilt offering. This is the ritual law for Nazarites. At the conclusion of their time of separation as Nazarites, they must each go to the entrance of the tabernacle and offer their sacrifices to the Lord Yahweh, a 1-year-old male lamb without defect for a burnt offering, a 1-year-old female lamb without defect for a sin offering, a ram without defect for a peace offering. All right. And then what happens as you continue to read on down, the priest would, offer up those offerings. And let's drop down to verse 18. It says, then the Nazarites will shave their heads at the entrance of the tabernacle. They will take their hair that have been dedicated and place it on the fire beneath the peace offering sacrifice. And after the Nazarite's head has been shaved, the priest will take for each of them the boiled shoulder of the ram, and he will take from the basket a cake and a wafer made without yeast, and he will put them all into the Nazarite's hands. Then the priest will lift them up as a special offering before Yahweh. And these are holy portions for the priest, along with the breast of the special offering and the thigh of the sacred offering that are lifted up before Yahweh. After this ceremony, the Nazarites may again drink wine. Okay, so ended it off here. Verse 21, it says, this is the ritual law of the Nazarites who vow to bring these offerings to Yahweh, and they may also bring additional offerings if they can afford it. And they must be careful to do whatever they vowed when they set themselves apart as Nazarites, right? Because there's a precept in the scriptures where it talks about, when you make a vow to Yahweh, you want to make sure you honor that, man. Okay. Because if you didn't honor it, the Lord could, see if I could find it. Salakia. It was serious, man, back then. See here if I can find it. Yeah, here it is right here. Numbers 30:2. It says, if a man vow a vow unto Yahweh or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeded out of his mouth. All right. And this goes into both the man and the woman. But the difference between a woman, when you read this chapter, it goes into saying that the woman, if she made a vow, being under her father's household, the father had the right to pretty much disannul it. All right. Or disallow it. Same thing with her husband, because the woman was under the authority either of her father if she wasn't married, or if she was married, she was under the authority of her husband, showing you that women, they didn't really have a say in the matter going back in the ancient world, man. OK. And that's not to get on the woman today or trying to come across as being misogynist or anything. So, ladies, please don't try to come for me in the comment section. I'm just explaining what, was taking part back then in the ancient world on the way they used to do things. All right. Let me see here. See if there's anything. Yeah, that's pretty much it on that. But let me see if they got another precept just to help out. I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to get. Yeah, here it is right here. The water Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Deuteronomy 23:21. When thou shalt vow a vow unto Yahweh thy power, thou shalt not slack to pay it. For Yahweh thy power will surely require it of thee, and it will be sin in thee. So that's how serious it was back then. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. All right. Let's read that in the different translations so you can get a better understanding. 21. When you make a vow to Yahweh your power, be prompt in fulfilling whatever you promised him. For Yahweh your power demands that you promptly fulfill all your vows, or you will be guilty of sin. However, it is not a sin to refrain from making a vow. But once you have voluntarily made a vow, be careful to fulfill your promise to Yahweh, your power. And when ye enter your neighbor's vineyard, you may eat your fill of grapes, but you must not carry. Well, that's going into something else. But there you go. So when you made, going back in the ancient world, when you made that vow, man, you have to fulfill that, man, or else it will be counted as sin. You'll be guilty. All right. And the scripture says the Lord requireth that which is past. you know. Now, if I'm not mistaken, actually, no, okay, that's something else. All right, so we covered that part, right? So now, when you go into the history, all right, you had a few of our forefathers that actually took on this custom, all right? The first of them was the prophet Samuel, all right, dealing with Hannah, which I believe was his mother. So let me just get straight to the point. 1 Samuel 1:7, it says, and as he did so year by year when she went up to the house of Yahweh, so she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. Speaking of when you go up, I believe it was Elkanah and his two wives. He had one was Hannah and Peninnah, right? So verse 8, then said Elkanah her husband to her, Hannah, why weepest thou? And why eatest thou not? And why is thy heart grieved? Am not I better to thee than 10 sons? So Hannah rose up after they had eaten at Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of Yahweh. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto Yahweh, and wept sore. And she vowed a vow, and said, O Yahweh of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thy handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thy handmaid, but will give unto thy handmaid a man child, then I will give unto Yahweh all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. All right. And it came to pass, as she continued to pray before Yahweh, that Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart, over her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, how long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy wine from thee. And Hannah answered and said, no, my Lord, as a means to say, my master, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before Yahweh. Count not thy handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto, because she couldn't conceive children. So she made a vow to Yahweh, Salakia, because Yahweh wasn't there at that time, but she made a vow to the Heavenly Father Yahweh that, hey, if you give me a male-born child, I will basically give him unto you, and make sure that no razor touch his head or whatever. So ultimately that vow was going into Samuel being a Nazarite. All right. So that's just, one example. Let's get another one. Judges, the 13th chapter, dealing with Samson, right? Now, let's start here at the top. In the children of Israel, Judges 13:1. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of Yahweh, and Yahweh delivered them into the hand of the Philistine 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto the woman and said unto her, behold, now thou art barren and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. All right. And this also destroys that whole doctrine of woman as being goddess because she can bear seed on her own or whatever the case may be, showing you that women back then didn't even have power or control to bear the seed of a man. All right. Unless if the Heavenly Father blessed their womb to conceive that seed. But nevertheless, continuing on, Judges 13:4, it says, now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite, see, unto the Most High from the womb. and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. Right now, when you jump over to the 16th chapter, I'll just cover this really quickly. And Lord's will, if you want the breakdown to Samson not actually having dreadlocks, but actually braids and plaits of hair, I'll put the lesson that I did ages ago in the description box so you brothers and sisters can go back and watch that. Because when I did that video, that caused a lot of problems. People, that video actually went viral, and it caused a lot of complaints and people coming after me, and a bunch of controversy. But nevertheless, right? So let's get to it. Now, when you deal with Samson, all right, let me see here. Let's drop down to right around. Let's get straight to the point. Might have went past it. Salakia, let me find it. Judges 16. And let's see here. Yep, right around here. I'll start at 12. The point is at verse 13. Delilah, all right, who was Samson's wife, all right, therefore took new ropes and bound him therewith and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And there were liars and wait abiding in the chamber. And he brake them from off his arms like a thread. And Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. Now, real quick, Lord's will, this works. If not, because I know Blue Letter has been acting up as of lately. Let's see if it'll work. Okay. Doesn't want to work. All right, that's fine. So, all right, let me pull it up in the Bible Hub. So let's go to Judges. Let's go to the 16th chapter real quick, Salakia, and the 13th verse. And let's pick out that word if we can, where it says locks. All right, Strong's G 4253. All right, Machalafpa, if I pronounced it correctly. If not, Salakia. But it says, as you can see there, a plait of hair. Okay, a plait of hair. Now, if I look this up, let me see what they bring here. There you go, a braid, man. Okay, that's really what it is. All right, a single length of hair or other flexible material made up of 3 or more interlaced strands, a braid. All right, so he didn't have dreadlocks. All right, he actually had braids. Now, when you look up the word locks in the etymology online, all right, for those who want to know what locks truly are, okay, let's go here, where it says here, lock. It says a tress of hair, number 2 right here. It says a tress of hair, lock of hair, a curl. Okay, that's all it really is. Now, show you something. If you look up, all right, a little Edomite girl TV show called Goldilocks. Remember that? All right, Goldilocks. Let me see what they got here. All right. And here's a good one there. Notice the ringlets of her hair, tress of hair. Okay. The key word here is locks. She didn't actually have dreadlocks, because when you go into the definition, okay, as we did here, Salaki, I lost it. Lock number 2, it says a tress of hair. Okay, lock of hair, curl, because that's all it really is. It's just curls, locks of hair, ringlets. Okay. And if you look up, let's see here, tress. There you go. Tress, long lock of hair. Okay. Or braid. You see? That's all it is, tressed hair. So it can be in a form of locks or in a plait or a braid. That's all it is, man. And that's exactly what Samson had. Now, all right, Salakia. So that breaks that down. All right. Samson was not only a Nazarite, but he also had braids. And then last but not least, we got Apostle Paul, who took the vow as well. All right. It says straight to the point. I'm going to start at 17. It says, this is Acts chapter 18 and verse 17. Then all the Greeks took Sosthenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat. And Gallio cared for none of those things. Gallio is the one that taught Apostle Paul within the law. Verse 18, and Paul, after this, tarried there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brethren, and sailed thence into Syria. And with him Priscilla and Aquila, having shorn his head in Chentria, for he had a vow. All right. So pretty much he cut his hair. Now, to understand this, let's come over here to Acts 21. All right. And we can start. Let me see here. Yeah. We'll start up here. Verse 18. And the day following, Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders were present. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things the Most High had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. And the Gentiles in this context is talking about Israelite foreigners, not the actual heathen Gentiles. Verse 20. And when they had, or Salakia, and when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. And they are informed of thee, that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles, Israelite foreigners, to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. All right, because it goes back to Acts the 15th chapter, when Paul had to seek from the elders about the dispensations, that you had certain man from Judea who came down teaching, except you be circumcised, you will not receive salvation. OK, verse 22. All right. Oh, and let me just, break that down, quoting that precept in Acts 15 chapter, because that's not to say that when somebody new comes in, you don't have to be circumcised. But you didn't just want to put a yoke of bondage on that particular brother, because Paul, being taught directly from Yahushua, understood that there was a process. All right. And what do I mean by that process? When you first, woke up to the truth. All right. There's a lot of things that, you had to get the understanding first. That's why you're likened unto a babe. And over the process of time, you had to be built up through the milk. All right. Which represents the, sure foundation. All right. Just like when you go out to build a house. All right. As a builder, you need to establish a strong foundation, and that strong foundation through the Spirit for us Israelites represents Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. OK, and so Paul understood that as an apostle, that, wait a minute, we only, when he went to the elders, they wrote a letter back saying, look, we only mentioned that you should abstain from flesh or things strangled with blood. And when you'll find out, when you actually look those things up, that they were permitted not to do, it actually goes back to the law. So that was just a basic thing that all of those Israelites that were coming back, all right, they were able to keep. And then as you continue to grow within the ministry and your faith continue to increase over a process of time, you'll start to do a little more and a little bit more once you gain proper understanding of certain things. And then you'll start to put off more and more. And then as a male, when the time came, OK, where you were fully invested in this truth, coming back to your heritage, then you will go and get circumcised when the time presented itself, So going back here, Acts 21 and 23, do therefore this that we say to thee, we have 4 men which have a vow on them. Them take and purify themselves with them and be at charges with them, that they may shave their heads, and all may know that those things whereof they were informed concerning thee are nothing, but that thou thyself also walkest orderly and keepest the law. All right, you see that? As touching the Gentiles which believe, we have written and concluded that they observe no such thing, save only that they keep themselves from things offered to idols, and from blood, and from strangle, and from fornication. And that goes back to Acts, the 15th chapter. Okay. But see, today, like, you have certain Israelite groups, they'll be so hard or over righteous on Jake. You know, you got to tell your boss that you got to keep the Sabbath Friday night, sundown, and Saturday night, sundown, which we don't keep that, by the way. But you have Israelite groups out here that do, because they don't know that the Sabbath is dictated by the moon, the new moon, that is. All right. That comes in once a month, every month. All right. Which the new moon represents the first day of the month. And so you will count 7 days from there. And then there's your next Sabbath. But anyway, you will have certain situations where, you know, brothers may come up to the camp hearing a word, and then brothers will be over righteous, and they'll put like a yoke of bondage on brothers, man. All right. Which you don't want to do that, because you start feeding a brother everything in the scriptures that pertain to the law. Not saying that, you know, it's not a bad thing to preach the law. The law is a great thing. All right. But we're not going to be judged off the technicality of the law. All right. Because, yeah, we still have to keep the law, but really it's through faith. All right. And if you have faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, that's going to lead you to wanting to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments anyway, to the best of your ability, that is. All right. So with the Israelite foreigners, all right, to give them a basic start coming back to the faith, they just advise them to, hey, don't observe anything else for now, but keep yourself from things offered to idols, and from blood, and strangle, and from fornication. All right. And then through the process of time, when those, you know, Israelites, all right, that were coming back, once they started to really grow within this truth and to build up their faith, then they'll start to be able to keep more things and more things as they can start to, you know, hone in on that complete understanding. All right. So I'm gonna wrap up there. That's pretty much it. Dealing with, you know, the understanding of the Nazarite vow. And in short, all you have to really take into account is that if you were to make such a vow, you had an end period. All right. There was a time where you will eventually have to shave your head. OK. And also that even when you deal with our Levitical priest, all right, they didn't they never had long hair, man. All right. They never had long hair. So this is Ezekiel 44:20. And I brought this out before. It says, dealing with the Levitical priests, they must neither shave their heads nor let their hair grow too long. Instead, they must trim it regularly. All right. So how much more as Israelites, man, you know? So that just proves that even if you are claiming to take, you know, such a vow, being a Nazarite, eventually you will have to trim it, man. All right. You eventually will have to trim it, because it wasn't one of those things where you born it and all of a sudden you'll have to you keep that vow all the way until you pass away, let's just say. All right. So hopefully this was edifying. Giving all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Rakaha Kodash. Double honors once again to the beloved apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the Tabernacle of David. I'm your brother Matazabath, and I pray that this lesson was edifying. Shalom.